Hi guys. Hello. It is Loose Threads Thursday. So what I'm working on today is quilting this big, beautiful, giant queen size quilt. And so I haven't put it in the machine yet, and because it's giant, and I get a lot of questions about how I am able to sew the large quilts with my little Singer. I thought I'd just go ahead and go live, and you guys can just see how I set everything up and how I get started and what I do. So that's what we're doing today. I love the quilting part. It's hard to choose a favorite, but it's probably my favorite part. So I have the quilt here, and I just wound all of my bobbins. I have, let me see, I have a new one in here, and then I have, so I'll do 6, and then I will for sure have to do wind them again before I'm done. And so I'm changing my foot now. I'm going to put on my free motion quilting foot, which looks like this. Oh, I think our power just flickered. But it looks like, mine looks like this. And it's got, I like the open toe so that I can see where my needle's going. But this is the one that I use. And this little part, if you're not familiar, this little top part is kind of the key, because it goes over a part where the needle goes up and down. This lays over it so that it's able to hop with the stitches, which allows me the freedom to be able to move the material underneath the under the needle. So I'm going to pop this on here. Get it nice and tight, and I set my stitch length to 0. If you have the option on your machine, some machines you can drop the feed dogs down to where they don't move at all. Mine doesn't have that option because really this pretty much does straight and zigzag. So anyway, I don't have that option, so I just set it to 0, and so it's not trying to pull it. It just kind of goes straight up and down instead of like a circle. So I'm going to grab my gloves. Here's what I'm working on. This is the quilt that I did on my quilting software. And so I've been playing around with how to quilt it. And so these were my sketches on trying to figure out how I was going to do the borders. And so what I've actually decided, I know you can't see probably in here, I'm going to do continuous circles on the blue, on the 5, what I call the 5 patches. It's starting to get windy out here. We might have a storm. And then I'm going to do clamshells instead of the X's on the white. I'm going to do herringbones or wishbones on the little white border. I'll do feathering on the blue border, and then I'm going to do these clamshells all over the big white border. And I'm going to try to keep them nice and big so that the quilt, once it's washed, will still be like big and fluffy. So I'm going to try not to like overly quilt it and leave the borders and everything where there's still some fluff ability, but that it's still really visually pretty is what I'm hoping for. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've got the giant quilt here, and I'm going to start, let me spread it out so no, by quilting the center portion with all of the piecing. I don't want to start on the outside with the borders, because there's going to be shifting and the fabric's going to shift out as I quilt. So I want to start and finish the inside portion before I move on to the borders. So I always say this is a little bit like wrestling an alligator. Let's see. this in here. I can hear that it's starting to rain again. I can see the trees are starting to blow. I don't know if we're supposed to have any severe weather or not. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's just some wind and a little rain. I just planted a bucket garden, and I really enjoyed the rain the last couple of days because I haven't had to go out and water them, because bucket gardens need watered like almost every day, especially when it's hot. So I'm kind of glad that I haven't had to do that. All right, let me see. I've got 1, 2, 4, 5. Okay, so this is a good place to start. Let me see which direction the quilt is. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going side to side. Okay. So I'm going to start here. Gonna put my gloves on so I can grip the quilt. My gloves are really worn out, but like I have the fingertips. I love having the fingertip open though, so that I can touch thread and things like that. But they are so important. Without it, the quilt is really hard to move. It gets kind of slippery with your hands and makes it difficult for anything that's kind of big or has a lot of movement. You really need. I even use my gloves for binding on the big quilts. I don't necessarily use them for the placemats like I've shown you before, but definitely on the big ones. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to put my needle down first. Okay, I'm going to pull the thread up to the top and then take a couple of stitches right in the same spot, and that makes it a little knot that will keep it so it doesn't unravel. And then I'm going to start with the continuous circles, which is what it's kind of like C's that go, except you just continue doing these little half circles. And so that's what I'm going to start with here. All right. And I just go corner to corner. Baby. I didn't like that seam for some reason. There's lots and lots of repositioning with a big quilt. Can you see? Let me see if I turn my light off, if you can see that first little one. I don't think it's going to show on the camera. Oh, no, I want to do this. Well, I can show you next time I have to pick up and move, I'll show you what it looks like. Across. In this pattern, this quilting design is really, really forgiving, which is one of the reasons I really like it. It doesn't require any marking. There are quilting rulers that you can use for it, but I don't know, I like quick and easy, and so I don't. The rulers take more time for me, I think, and so I don't use them. But when you're done, you don't see any of the inconsistencies or the imperfections. need to do some clamshells here. This is the first time I've used clamshells on a big quilt, so I'm kind of excited about that. Let's see, corner there. And again, I want my clamshells to be nice and wide. I don't want there to be too much quilting on this. So, they look pretty good. Let's I have worried and worried and worried about the quilting for this quilt on what I was going to do with it. I just couldn't decide, because I tend to like to quilt, as my mother-in-law would say, the heck out of things. And the quilt that we are recreating is, it's an old quilt, it looks like, and it doesn't have a ton of quilting on it. But I do want to give it my touch, because my quilts, if I were to just do, if I were to not do something special on it, it wouldn't be one of my quilts. So I have kind of, gone back and forth about what I should do. But I am glad that I settled on this, because this looks really pretty. Okay, let me see if I can lift that up. Can you see the clamshells there? I think you can see that from there. That turned out really pretty. I'm glad. I really like that. Okay. Onward we go. I did think about doing something that was just an all-over design. But with these big borders that it has on it, I just felt like it was crying out for something a little different, a little more special. So doing the specialty quilting on this will take a little more time than what my quilting typically takes, but I think that it will be worth it. And I really hope that Linda loves it when it's done. So as you can see, I've got the huge quilt. I'm just the way to deal with it is just to constantly fidget it and refix it and maneuver it as you need to, and it's really not that big of a deal to get it on here. I mean, if you think that it's going to be, you're going to get it on and it's going to be like quilting a placemat or something, I mean, that's not going to happen. But in reality, I mean, it's definitely doable. You just have to be patient with it. It does take a little, I mean, obviously it's going to take longer because it's bigger, but it's going to take longer just because you have to be careful and do lots of maneuvering. And anytime you feel like it's pulling, you don't want too much, you don't want it to hang, you've got to make sure it's lifted up. Like I've got it up on my lap right now, but sometimes if I get away, you know, it might pull against the front, or if I've got, it's too tight back or around, then it can cause it to pull one way or the other, or to not run as smoothly. So those are just things you have to look out for. And that's why I keep a table on both sides of the machine, in front of it and beside, so that it doesn't hang down and then cause my stitching to pull. But anyway, I'm going to continue to quilt, and don't forget to say hi, even if those of you who come back and watch the replay later. Please say hey and ask any questions you have below, or if you do these machines and you've got some tips for us, I'd love to hear them too. And I will see you all later. Bye.